I wish everybody would sell too, but there's a number, right? And you know the conversations we've had from before. Uh, Owners aren't successful overnight. It takes time. So the hope is they've got money put away, maybe got some real estate investments, maybe some other businesses, some things that they've got some cash flow or appreciation coming from. Then you look at the windfall that can happen with the business. But depending on how old you are, that number changes. You guys are young, right? How old are your kids?
7 and 9.
Okay. 7 and 9 is pretty young. See what I'm saying? Like you've got, good 15 potentially with all them in the house, college, so on and so forth. Like there's a longer process. So the number that you need obviously needed to be bigger. Somebody who's maybe 55, 60, 65 doesn't need that same amount. Hopefully they've done well with their investing, and the number that they need to get them. My commentary is what's the number that gets you to your promised land? Your definition of it, right? And then we start to take a look at, okay, the money, less taxes, rule of 72. I get a double, maybe this every whatever the number is, 7, 8, 9, 10 years. If I don't do X, Y, and Z, what does this all look like? Not the easiest thing to do, but if the number's big enough, right? I agree, it could get exciting. And to your end, you guys had obviously built something pretty impressive. What was and again, with the young kids and knowing all of this, something had to spark you to say, hey, we really need to take a look at what it's like to bring on a partner and do an exit. What was that?
Well, the truth is that we had a class action lawsuit. An ex-employee tried to do a class against us, and I think that was our final straw. Like we had companies come to us with offers and stuff, and we were not ready at the time. And then, this class action lawsuit happened, and we were like, that's it. We're done. Like,
Yeah, and it was from the least suspecting person too. Somebody we bent over backwards for,
Always.
did special things for, like way above and beyond that any human being would do for any employee, and the person still went around. And so we realized that, we're just completely vulnerable out there. And the legal situations were a little bit outside of our comfort zone and knowledge. So it was all new stuff for us, and it was stuff that we didn't want to repeat again.
Sure.
yeah, we're definitely here for the people. We're here to take care of our people. And when something like this happens, it just kind of gets to your soul as business owners. You just care too much to go through this type of thing.
And to be honest with you, it just started that conversation that you talked about. What is that number for us? That I guess we could call it a walkaway number, or that number where we're financially set and don't have to worry about employees going out of their way to attack us, So and so once we figured out what that number was, we met with you, Brian, and we're like, hey, can we get close to it? And that's where it's all started.
It's unfortunate, right? Because I think a lot of people think, you have some success and all of a sudden you've been like this your whole life. You have 7 and 9-year-old kids. The sacrifice that has to be made, especially in a service business where when it's whatever time of the year it is or whatever you got going on, or phones are ringing off the hook, it's all hands on deck until it's not. People just don't understand it, right? And you have these employees which you've treated as I'm sure, because I know you guys have treated like family, and when that happens, that's got to be devastating. You got to scratch your head and you're like, what do we do wrong here, right?
Yeah.
What are we doing here? And I've got good friends of mine, and again, I'm in my mid-50s, and I got some buddies of mine that have owned some pretty successful companies over the year, and for the same reason they went out now too. That their feeling is the work ethic just isn't the same. It's everybody has their hand out for everything. It's not, let me show you what I can do, and then we'll discuss how we're going to get paid and things they want everything now without proving anything out. And it's not easy to put these businesses together, and it's expensive, and it takes a lot, and they're sophisticated. And once you really start digging into it, like, listen, when you went through diligence and we gave you that checklist of the things that we needed, and you realize it's insurance, it's bank accounts, it's what's every single thing tie out for, you built all of that over years, and now you got to get that information to me basically in 5 minutes. It must have been a head scratcher. Like, do you ever take a step back and be like, I really can't believe what we put together, right? Because
Sometimes. All the little like every piece we touched, every piece that's in place we touched, we built with our own hands. And then as we got bigger, we did have help, but we touched every piece of it, every procedure we approved. Yeah, it's a lot.
course. And now you're, and we'll toggle back and forth in this conversation, transaction to post-transaction, but now it's post-transaction. Ben's got an incredible suntan. I don't know if it's or is this summer, is it good lighting, whatever it is. What does it look like with the family post-transaction?
People keep asking us this, and we're in our last 2 weeks of transitioning the new GM. So we haven't been fully out yet. But our kids are back in school now. So we haven't really thought much that far ahead, other than we want to just catch up on all the things that we've been neglecting at our house and our home and our kids, and being more present with our kids, and making sure that we're all at all of their sporting events and coaching their sporting events when we can, because we both played college sports. So
Sure.
we haven't really thought that far ahead, other than just focusing on our kids and our home life a little bit more than a lot more than we have over the last 8 years.
Yeah, and I think initially we were hopeful that this transaction would happen and we would be sitting here where we are now at the beginning of summer.
Yeah.
So we can enjoy that whole summer with our kids off. But it just timing didn't work out. We have to Melissa's point, lots of other projects we would like to wrap up. So then maybe next summer we can live that dream summer that we're really always hoping to do.
Although we had a pretty good summer.
We did. It was definitely the best summer we've ever had. So
Well, the important thing is you're focusing on what's most important, right?
Yeah.
Family first. You built a business to take care of you and your family.
Yeah.
And to that end, you succeeded. And now I think what's neat is, you're young enough to really be able to enjoy things on a different level, right? Young, in shape, good stuff. You got the young kids. I mean, there's so many neat things that you can go ahead and do moving forward. Obviously sometimes we get in these conversations with folks that have owned these businesses 20, 30, 40 years, and they feel that they've built something up, and we get all the numbers in, and you're just like, it's not where you think it should be. And unfortunately, it's going to wind up being a lot less. And with so many coaching groups available to be able to have, and mentorship programs available to be able to work through it to help grow, I hate to use that term. Sometimes it's hard to teach an old dog new tricks, but man, you got to be able to listen. There's so many places of information to be able to find things to help you grow. What was most important for you guys that all of a sudden your aha moment that said, okay, we don't have to do this all on our own. There's plenty of other people that out there have done this. We could listen to some people, do some things. Do you remember when that all occurred?
Well, let's see. We joined Nextstar in around 2020 is when we joined Nextstar. And it was when I think I'm answering the question correctly. It was when our employees got to the point where we didn't think that we could coach them one-on-one anymore. Like, we were too big to where we couldn't coach them one-on-one, and we needed to get systems and processes and outside help to help coach groups of people. Like, we needed people to help coach our call center. We needed people to help coach the field guys, the apprentices, and then we need to start adding management to our company. So that was probably the turning point for us about 3 years in. I would say 2017 is when we started our business, and it was out of our house. And then in February of 2020, we closed on our commercial property and we moved into our commercial property. And that's around the time we started Nextstar, and we're starting to get outside coaching.
You need it. Yeah, go ahead.
And to be honest, her family has a long legacy of plumbing in our area. Her father was one of the founding members of Nextstar, so he helped create a lot of the training programs and next level industry, not only in this state, but in multiple states across the West Coast. And so we were very fortunate that we had somebody, a mentor, her mom and dad, that could give us that inside scoop with how things were done. And so we knew early on, very early at the very beginning, that mentorship process of finding elite talent, like people who are doing exceptional things, we don't have to create this. Let's just figure out how they did it, replicate a lot of the processes that got them there. And then after we know our team knows how to run those systems, then we can figure out how to take them up a notch and
Sure.
get them even better than what the system we're being presented. And so from the very beginning, we were fortunate to have that mentorship. So we knew that me and Melissa already had a lifelong mentorship from her parents, and we knew that the message wasn't completely coming across from just me and her, and we needed another agency like Nexstar or coaches to coach our people. So the message was it's coming from the entire industry. It's not just coming from us. So that helped kind of solidify our processes in place as the best in the industry. And then we tried to improve upon them or find better ways to take them up a notch.
And obviously, both of you being athletes, you're coachable and trainable. So you understood that point. You understood the being able to trust, right, in somebody who's got your best shared interest in mind. And we see it a lot. The owners get to this certain level, and they want to go to another place, and they can't figure it out. And unfortunately, it's hard to tell an owner, go look in the mirror. You're the reason why this business won't grow, right? You have to be able to turn certain things over that either you can't give 110% to, or is just not your specialty. Right. So
And that's also how we felt with our business. We've grown it to such a big size that if we were going to get it to the next level and add verticals and things like that, we would need to put more into our business or hire differently. But we were kind of at a point where we felt that myself, not my husband, but maybe I was even holding the company back because I wanted to spend more time with my kids and not as much in the business. And so we knew that really this was the best thing for us and for our business to go to the next level.
plus, when you've seen the process being implemented in so many other successful businesses, right? Nexstar has a ton of successful businesses in there. They're all running a similar playbook. When you've seen the success, it gives you the confidence to say, okay, we can be all in on this. And we know not every day is going to be, perfect, but over time, we're going to have enough perfect days that are going to offset the other ones. It's just, I mean, when we talk to folks, listen, I talk to 15 to 20 owners a week that are of various sizes. And one of the questions we ask is, are you in a part of a coaching program? And if not, how come? Oh, and they all know how to do it. They all know how to do it. I said, well, you're not, because for the business for, 5 years, 7 years, 8 years, whatever it is, you're not getting to where you need to go. There's a switch that's missing. I mean, you should probably take a look at what some of the main groups are and start interviewing them to see which can be the best fit to help you get to where you want to go. Because no different than Nexstar or Service Roundtable or BDR, you have folks that are going to be on you, depending on the level you want to play at, right? You have folks that could be with you, I think almost every day with some type of call just to be accountable. And this day and age of coaches and being accountable, I mean, if you weren't being held accountable and didn't see the success and results of the people around you, it's hard to believe that you can do it, right? But once you see it, all of a sudden it's like, all right, not only, one day there's a confidence switch that flips, says, all right, not only can we do it, how big can we go, right? But your backgrounds weren't in the trades. What was your background before the trades?
Well, they were actually.
Oh,
So
I'm sorry, with the family.
yeah, so my dad owned one of the largest plumbing companies in the Northwest. And he started it out of our house when I was 5 years old. And I was involved with that essentially my whole life, all through high school. I was actually a plumber apprentice in high school. So on the weekends, I would go out in the field with the plumbers. And then during the week after school, I would come in the office and do like a CSR job or dispatching. I would write thank you cards and mail them out, that sort of comment cards or whatever they were called back then. And then as I progressed to college, I was going to school, UW, to get my business degree in accounting. And that time I transitioned to working in the accounting office at my parents' plumbing company. But this whole time I was traveling across the country with my dad in Nexstar, going through all the Nexstar trainings, meeting with other owners of other plumbing companies across the country. So I was learning best practices from a really young age. And then in college, my brother asked if I wanted to start a plumbing company with him. And I was like, no, like, I'm not going to own a plumbing company with my brother. Like, that's the craziest thing I've ever heard. And I was in college. Like, it worked out fine. I ended up working for a CPA firm after college and working for my brother at the same time. And it was during the recession. So we started his business in the recession, and I worked at the CPA firm and his plumbing company at the same time. And the CPA firm's hours were just getting less and less because it was the recession. And his company, we were growing it faster and faster. And before I knew it, I was working 60 hours a week, and I'd hired 40 employees and was managing 10 trucks, 10 plumbers. But I did that for 7, 8 to 10 years. And, I never intended to work with my brother. It just kind of happened during the recession, and he needed the help and I knew how to do it. And during that time, I met Ben. He wasn't a plumber when I met him, but his background was his dad owned a construction company. And so he learned a lot of the mechanical work, hands-on. And when I met him, he also went to University of Washington. He played football there. But after college, he worked for H.D. Fowler, which was one of our vendors, basically. And he was welding large diameter pipe for them when we met. But he saw how lucrative the plumbing industry was. And that's when he decided to also come over to my brother's plumbing company, and he did his whole apprenticeship program there. He ran the warehouse. He became a licensed plumber. But then after a while, we decided that it was becoming really hard to work with family. And we didn't know what we wanted to do, but we knew we no longer wanted to work with my brother at his company in a family-run business.
And we knew exactly how to run a company. Like I was running the operations side, more in the field with plumbers and apprentices, helping them know what they were doing and selling work. And then also the materials and part side from the warehouse and how that warehouse was going to operate. And Melissa ran more of like the accounting services and the call center. And so it was kind of like we kind of ended up being a very strong team together in terms of how a plumbing company would normally operate. But like going back, I mean, I know she said she started at a young age, but she's been in the industry since she was 4 years old. She remembers taking phone calls from customers at 4 or 5 years old and waking your dad up out of bed and go, hey, somebody needs you to come and help them with a plumbing job. Like there just isn't people that, but that back when we were children, that's what, you got involved in your family's business. That's
Sure.
what you did. My dad was a general contractor in California, and I would go sometimes on my summers and I'd go help him on jobs as just a laborer, like doing construction work. And I always loved construction work. I always loved doing hands-on work and building things. And I knew that's what I wanted to do. And it just ended up where my career steadily advanced to was now instead of just building plumbing jobs, now I'm building companies, and we helped build her brother's company up to a certain size. And like she said, the changes he would come in and make would just create a tremendous amount of unnecessary work for
Well,
us.
he wasn't working in the business at the end. He started a separate business. It was a fly fishing business. He was a guide. And so he wasn't really in the business. He'd come in like once a quarter and say hi and see how things were doing.
Yeah, and we decided that we knew exactly what we were doing, and it was time for us to head on our own journey. So,
well, we didn't actually have an intention of starting our own business at that time. We just knew that it wasn't a healthy relationship with family. And so we'd given like a 3 to 6 month notice. And then we at some point found ourselves without jobs. Or maybe it was always in the back of your mind that that's what you wanted to do, but I wasn't interested in recreating the wheel a third time at that point. But once we didn't have any jobs and we had a baby at home that needed diapers and a mortgage to pay, we realized that we might as well do the one thing we knew we were really good at doing. So that's when we decided to start a plumbing company.
exactly.
Or at least that's when I agreed to go along with the plan.
She went along with my plan. So my plan all along was not necessarily did it have to be plumbing, but I wanted to be a business owner, and I wanted to create something where we could grow and scale it and see success and improve people's lives and all those things that my dad did it when I was a child, and I watched him do it from the construction side, and her family did it. So it was also too what we knew and what we experienced.
We had a very different outlook because, it's always been his dream to start a business. And, I'd gone through it so many times, and I was the opposite. I was like, I'm never gonna own a plumbing company. Like, I saw how hard it was on my parents and how much they worked, and I was like, I'm never going to do this. And he was the opposite. So there must have been a difference in experience somewhere along the
So
line.
obviously I saw my opportunity, like this is an opportunity for us to get something started and going. And that's what we did. And I mean, none of it was easy. The whole thing was hard, but my whole experience was even playing sports, through high school, it was all hard. Getting a Division I scholarship at the University of Washington to play football. Even that notch of difficulty was just raised so high, like you're just at such a high elite level of play with these people, but they're all 100% invested.
Right.
And it becomes very difficult, but it also becomes very, very rewarding. Like the rewards are so much higher when the difficulty gets to the max. And so
Sure.
I saw that, and I learned after working with her brother that all of this stuff was achievable. To see success in the industry, we had already experienced a lot of the trials and tribulations of growing a business. We'd already learned from them, knew what to do, and it was just kind of replicating what we already knew.
Well, if we could do it in the middle of a recession in 07, 08, then we could definitely do it in 2017 or whatever year that was.
And I mean, through the pandemic
Oh,
too.
through the pandemic.
The pandemic was pretty difficult.
That
but
was a whole nother level of challenging. It's like we went right into the pandemic, and we had to work double time every single day. And it just seems like coming out of the pandemic, it never ended, it just continued. So,
Nonstop. I think what's interesting with what you said was, and again, you both have such experience. It's so much experience going in, and even with all the experience that you've had, right? And the fact that most of you were answering calls so early, you understood the business. You still took on a coach, like you
Oh,
still
yeah.
took on an accountability partner, somebody to keep you guys moving in the direction that you're moving in. For me, when I hear that, I'm like, okay, you never got to this crazy place where you said, we know how to do everything, right?
Oh, yeah.
Which kind of grounds you, because in a lot of these businesses, it's you're same pin, same hole. You got to keep doing the same thing over and over and over again till you're comfortable with it. Then you can layer on and keep growing, kind of like the way that you guys did, obviously. But if you don't have that coach in place, sometimes it's a little bit more challenging, a little bit more difficult to be able to go ahead and do that. So, I appreciate the fact that you continued doing that. You didn't say, hey, we know how to do it all now.
Oh, no,
Right.
we were
I mean,
constantly.
listen, we deal with folks who want to sell their business. I know what my EBIT is. I mean, when we ran through your numbers, I remember that there were some conversations going back and forth. One person thought it was one place, somebody else thought it was another. It's, there's a reason why professionals are brought in is the bottom line. So when we hear these, here's what my business worth, here's my EBIT, I'm like, okay, let me just relax here for a moment, take a breath.
I'll get you more. I was like, oh.
Well, listen, you got to have the right person who's aggressive enough to go after, the number. Listen, if you don't ask for it, you're not going to get it, right?
Yeah.
The key is you had a number of folks that were competing for your business that gave you the opportunity because you had created something very good, right? If you don't have something very good for start, it's, you're just not going to have the same amount of interest, but you had a ton of interest that we were thrilled to bring to the table and obviously put together what we felt is a very good transaction, for you and your family. And ultimately that's the most important thing, because when this is all said and done, those are the people that you're going to answer to, right?
Yeah, it was great. It was a really great transaction. I mean, everything went, I'm so lucky that, I found you guys, and I don't know how. I feel like it was fate that the day that you sent me that message on Facebook, and I was like, oh, another one of these people spamming me, and I don't know what would have happened if you hadn't reached out to me. It wouldn't have been the same. Like, I probably would have got 40% less for my business. I mean, the transaction, the pre-closing work, all of that, it was pretty much mean, it was a lot of work, but it was like seamless, like step by step by step, like everything went smooth. I mean, you guys made, anybody even considering selling, I'm like SF&P, like if they don't use you, they
They're
won't
gonna
even,
lose a lot of money.
they won't even know what they're losing out on without you
Yeah,
guys
and
helping them.
it's not just the money, it's the time and the ease of the transaction and setting everything up. It was just, I mean, because we had lots of private equity groups reaching out to us directly.
Sure.
But essentially, without going through somebody like SF&P, like we would have 100% sold our business for
Less,
30 or 40% less.
yeah,
Because they're looking for a discount, and I think you guys recognized some of the things that made our business unique, highlighted them, and then shared it with the collective group and built up some momentum so that these groups were willing to come up and reach that higher dollar amount that we needed to see an exit.
Sure. We talk to folks all day, and they want a number and they want something else and they move a goalpost and they're not really sure. And well, what do we have? It is a process. It takes time. It's 6 to 9 months, no matter how I slice and dice it. Sometimes you can get it done a little bit earlier. Sometimes it takes a little bit longer. But the important thing is, if you're a professional and understand how important this transaction is, you don't play games with this. You get one time to do the best transaction you're potentially ever going to be able to put together. I'm not talking about second bites of the apple or anything else. You get, boom, here's the big one. You get one time to go ahead and do this, and to not be represented properly in this sets yourself up for, one, if not two more failures, on a second bite of the apple and on anything else that may happen. And unfortunately, and again, it's not private equity's fault. Private equity wants to get deals done. They want to find companies to buy. So, if they can give you a low ball number or a number that maybe isn't really the number and somebody accepts it, more power to them. We know a lot of these private equity guys. They're absolutely fantastic. They like doing deals with us because they know, just like with you, we sat there and did all that work up front to make sure this was going to be a good, viable, and successful transaction. Because nobody wants to waste their time.
And for us, we've spent our whole lives and our careers seeking the best. Like,
Right.
what is the best in the market? What is the best available for us to learn and grow from? And from our research looking, I mean, I spent probably a good 2 to 4 months, probably about 3 months, researching who makes sense to use to get us what we wanted. And what we wanted was essentially the highest dollar amount with a smooth transition, like that's what we were looking for. And everybody and we talked to business owners who had sold, some of the biggest business owners in the Pacific Northwest who sold and who utilized you guys, and said the exact same thing we're saying, that we sought the best, we found the best, and we got the best.
yeah.
And that's exactly how we feel going through this transaction with SF&P.
We're really happy with the company that we partnered with too. They
Yeah.
turned out to be, the last 3 months, because we're transitioning, the last 3 months working with them has been just great. I mean, they've been so kind, and they're not coming in and like forcing a bunch of changes or anything like that. I think the employees, like we hadn't lost any employees during our transition. Nobody was scared. Nobody was worried. I mean, they would come in and bring in taco trucks or food trucks, and just like anytime they were here, it was always fun, and the only changes they made right away were, how they renegotiated our insurance rate and got it cut in half by over 100,000 a year. And they got our service time rates knocked by 75%. Like the only changes they came in and made were things that we needed help with and we were asking for help. And so they've just, improved and just come in and helped improve some basic processes and things like that. But, they're not changing pay, they're not changing our structure. They're letting us continue to operate the business the way that we wanted to operate it with their help. And they were always there when we needed help. If we had HR issues, they were there, always available. So partnering with champions, if I was going to stay on, as a business owner, Champions would be the one that I'd want to stay on with.
Yeah,
Um,
they got a great platform, and it is interesting. Obviously we've completed a number of transactions with them and some of the other big guys and plenty of smaller ones too. At the end, there's a chemistry fit piece in this equation, right? It's not just a number. It's who do you think is going to be the best for you, your employees, whatever your definition of that in the next step is, and you make that move accordingly. Um, and the chemistry fit is important. A lot of clients we've done deals with, like, oh, you guys got to send them over and we got to take a look at them over here. And then, we do that and it's not maybe that's not the best chemistry fit. Okay, no worries. There's going to be somebody out there for you, especially if you've got a good business and you guys have a good business. Thus, you had a lot of opportunity to be able to figure out who you wanted to go make your deal happen with. And I think that's ridiculously important, but
It's hard to know though, before you sign, before that day, the business transfers, like, I can't imagine how you would know, who you were partnering with, unless, SF&P or someone gave some advice, like, these guys are great to work with, these guys
Right.
aren't, it would be really hard to know that, ahead of time. And it's hard because it's relational, it's personalities too. It can vary.
you don't want to get
That,
snaked. That would be making a deal happen and then regretting it afterwards. And does it happen? Sure, it does. See, part of the challenges and why I appreciate this conversation. I talk to folks all the time, like, oh, I hear they come in, they take your business over, they do this, they do that. I'm like, I've never heard of that once. Oh, well, of course, you're selling and you want me to become your client. I'm like, no, I've got a list of clients that you call and go have your conversation with them. I'm not telling you every deal has been perfect. I don't think that's reality. But
yeah.
if you make a good deal happen with good people and you've taken the time to do the work to vet people out, I think it's going to work out more often than not, turning out for the best and not for the worst.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, everybody, the one bad apple of the situation probably has the biggest bullhorn is saying the most. But if you vet your people out and you're clear with what you want to be able to go ahead and do, I don't say it's not difficult. They're always, these things are sophisticated and they're challenging. But again, I think it should turn out more times than not than, for the best, like it did for you guys. As we start to bring this in, what would you think would be if you were talking to an owner, what do you think like the biggest takeaway would be? Like, hey, here's the most important thing I could tell you about where you're at with your business or looking to make a transaction happen. What do you think that is?
I already know what my advice would be.
Go ahead.
Get out as fast as you
And
can.
ladies first. Go ahead.
Okay, mine was, if I was talking to somebody in a transaction or talking to somebody considering selling their business, I would say, get out as fast as you can before something happens.
Sure.
Take your money and run. Like,
Sure.
these companies, our plumbing companies in the trades right now, they are selling for top dollar. And there's an unbelievable amount of risk that we carry as business owners, that if you haven't seen anything scary happen to you, it can happen. It could be a car accident. It could be a class action lawsuit. And there's probably risks that somebody could die in a trench. Like, there's just an unbelievable amount of risk involved that we don't even know is there. And not only will they come after your business, they're going to come after you personally as owners too. So there's just more risk than we can bear. And for your employees' sake, if the owners were to pass away unexpectedly, you have 80 families, you have 100 families that you're responsible for. And if something happened like that tragically, you would just be leaving all of your people exposed. And it's, the money, I mean, people in our situation can sell their business and make more money off their investments than they can running their own business. So for the risk wise, the financial side, the mental health side, none of it makes sense. Like, get out while you can, especially since the opportunity is so good right now.
Yeah.
Tell me how you really feel, Melissa.
So this is spoken from somebody who didn't plan on starting a plumbing business.
Oh
to
yeah,
begin
that's
with.
right. Like, I didn't want to do this to begin with.
Right.
We should have the other.
I mean, this is always what I kind of wanted to do, but like, I came to a similar realization. There is a lot of risk. I mean, literally, there is just one bad job. We are just one bad job away from collapsing the entire company. And I mean, I'd like to say that we have control over it, but we don't. I mean, when you have people operating vehicles and operating your company, without your direct supervision 100% of the time. And if you have more than 10 employees, you're not going to be able to watch them all when they're working. So that you're just going to assume the risk. And that's okay, because I mean, a lot of these businesses are profitable, but the biggest thing for me was that we came to the point when we figured out what our dollar amount that we wanted was. We're like, okay, if we make X amount in the stock market, let's say 4% return, 10% return, right? 4% return is terrible, by the way, but 10% return is pretty par standard in those investments. We realized if we take a lump sum of cash and put it there, how much money would we make year over year? And basically, we got to the point where we looked at each other and we're like, we are losing so much money running our business. We are losing hundreds of thousands of dollars a year.
Wow.
By continuing to run our business and not taking the money and putting it somewhere else where it can grow much faster. Can't grow that fast in a bit, it just can't grow that fast in the business. So we're like, shoot, once we got to that point where we're like, oh my God, we're losing money running our bit, even though we're doing so many great things, we're improving so many lives. It was just the risk and vulnerability and the amount of money that we were losing by continuing to run it. Those two factors together just made it, we would have to be completely stupid to continue on doing what we were doing.
You guys made a movie, did incredibly well. We were honored to represent you in the transaction, and obviously happy that we've had this conversation, because we're going to send this out to a bunch of folks for them to be able to listen to. And of course, you're going to get some phone calls on it, what have you. So in the email that I send out, I will put your new contact information in there for anybody that wants to have a conversation, obviously with Melissa or Ben. I really appreciate you guys carving the time out to spend it with me here, to give me your story. This is some of my favorite part of what I do is this. So really appreciate you guys for taking the time with us. Thank you.
Awesome.
Thanks.